G'day guys, this is Powerslide and this is TZ Motors, a great car and motorcycle dealership in Budapest. So if you're looking for one of those used, please check out the dealership. I linked it down in the description, so make sure you head there and check it out.
G'day guys, this is Powerslide and today I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know about the 370Z before buying one used. So let's get into it. But before that, let's break down the key things about the 370Z. So the 370Z is the 6th generation of the Z lineup, which started with the Datsun Z back in the day and then continued with the 300ZX and then the 350Z, and its successor will be the 400Z, but it's only a concept so far. So the name of the car stands for its engine. So it's a 3.7 liter engine, produces 330 brake horsepower from its naturally aspirated power, and yeah, it's pretty cool. So the 370Z was launched in 2008 and since then it had only one facelift, which contains only 2 fog lamps on each side, but yeah, the car is a bit dated on the inside, but luckily it's not about the interior. So this car has the proper sports car DNA, front engined, rear wheel drive, and it has a limited slip differential, so pretty much everybody uses this car as a drift car, as the tires on this car demonstrates. Now I'm going to tell you a few of the mechanical problems you need to watch out for before buying this 370Z. If you want to use this car on track, you need to buy the 2012 and older cars, because the previous cars before 2012 had a pretty weak oil filter and they tend to overheat if you use them hard on track. So make sure you buy the 2012 or older. So if the rear hatch cannot stay open under its own power, then the car was most likely crashed whilst drifting from some of the sides, and yeah, don't buy that car. This car is luckily perfect in this sense. So a common problem with this car is that the lock pin and the wheel nuts get loose, and then you have a weird rear axle click in the car. So if you hear that, make sure you change the lock pin and the wheel nut for a aftermarket one, which is much stronger than the factory one, and you don't have the click. So 2 things to look out for around the doors. So one thing is that the underside of the door tend to rust a bit at some models, and also after the wheel the paint job tend to be a bit weaker, and so these are the 2 things to look out for on the exterior of the car. Obviously Japanese car tend to rust sometimes on the doors. So make sure you always check your oil levels, because that can cause a lot of damage in the engine. If the engine oil is not always on the full side, you can hear clicking noises. Make sure you check that. So when you're cornering hard with these cars, there's a problem with the fuel tank. So in the corners the fuel goes to the side of the fuel tank, and if it's not full then it's flopping around and everything, and the baffles should stop it, but somehow it doesn't have that good of baffles, and so when it's on the side the engine sucks in some air and that causes some troubles, so watch out for that. Don't run on low fuel. So there's another fault with this car, and that is the Concentric slave cylinder, which you have to fill up here where the brake fluids are and everything like that, and basically the clutch pedal drops to the floor and you have to pull it out. It's really dangerous, and whilst driving you're not able to pull it out of gear basically because the clutch pedal is to the floor. So make sure you check those fluids and make sure that they are full, because then there's some leaking on the side. Here are some of the coolest features about the 370Z, of course apart from this. So there is the best thing in this car ever been produced to a car, and that is this, look. You can adjust the gauge cluster with the steering wheel, so you don't end up with not seeing either the ref counter or the speedometer. So it's unbelievably cool. I love that. So luckily the 370Zs live up to their Japanese reputation and they're really reliable. The engine, the gearbox, they are pretty good. So buy them used one. Go for it. So guys, hope you find today's video interesting, and yeah, make sure you subscribe if you want to see more of this, and hit the notification bell to be alerted when we make a new upload, and yeah, see you next time. Bye.
Rock Legion.
That boy is Benny Hanna.